Dear students, today we will discuss the matters on what is the silent features of the Indian constitutions. In the earlier class, we have discussed regarding what is constitution. Now I am going to discuss the silent features of the Indian constitution. So our constitution was enacted on 26 November 1949, but we are officially celebrating 26 January 1950. The first of all, we have to know what is the silent features. The first of all, our drafters of the Indian constitutions, they provided for us written constitutions, because at the time of the drafting of the Indian constitution, or we will say that at the time of India got independence, 70% of the people are illiterate and 30% of the people are literate. For that reasons, our drafters of the Indian constitution decided to provide written constitutions, and our constitution is the lengthiest and bulkiest constitution in the world. And at the time of the drafting of the constitutions, our original constitution contained 395 articles. Now we are having the 22 parts of our constitution and 12 schedules. The second features of the Indian constitution is sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic features. So India is sovereign in the sense we are completely free from the other dominations, other countries' dominations, and it is free from clutches from British domination. And socialist means within the state we must have the economic development. Sovereign, socialist and secular means India is giving prominence for all religion, and there may not be any single religion, and we should not make any discrimination for any caste, creed, sex, race, religion. Then India is a republican idea, means when India got independence, at that time there were more than 200 kings who were ruling in our country, but now there were no kings rule in India after India got independence and after India became republic, because the absence of the hereditary rule or king rule. Then democratic ideas, students, by the people, for the people, to the people, and we must all the people are involving for after attaining the age of 18 years, electing their own representatives, and we will form our own government. Then the next feature is we are having parliamentary formation of the government. In parliamentary formation of the government, we are selecting our own representatives, and the ministers, our council of ministers or cabinet, they are collectively, individually responsible for the lower house or the Lok Sabha at the union, or Vidhana Sabha or legislative assembly in the state is concerned. That is, the cabinet ministers mainly held responsible individually and collectively for the legislature, and the legislature is having the supreme power to vacate the seat of the ministers. That is the theme of the parliamentary formation of the government. Then we are having the fundamental rights. It is very, very important for the every individuals. Part 3 of the Indian Constitution speaks about the fundamental rights. Example, right to religion, right to equality. These are all the fundamental rights. It is enshrined in Article 12 to 35. And Article 32 is very, very important, because Dr. Ambedkar stated that without which there may not be any provisions, because without this provision, if we are unable to include it, it is nullity, because it is the soul and heart of our constitution. Because under Article 32, we can go for the Supreme Court if there is any violation of the fundamental rights, or we can also approach for the High Court under Article 226. So the parliamentary formation of the government, we have adopted the Britain Constitution, and next is fundamental duties in our constitutions. Article 51A speaks about fundamental duties. There are 11 fundamental duties we have to abide to the constitutions, and the parents have to provide compulsory education for the children below 14 years of age. So these are all the fundamental duties, but fundamental duties, it is non-justiciable, but you have to oblige for the fundamental duties, right to respect for the national anthem, etc. Then we are having the emergency provisions under Article 18th of the Indian Constitution. President of India is declared the emergency, national emergency, state emergency and the financial emergency. Under Article 252, the national emergency when there is a threat of war or rebellion within the state, or if there is any war declared as against India outside, then President of India can declare the national emergency. And state emergency, Article 356, if the state mission, if the within the state, if there is a failure of the constitutional machinery, under those circumstances, the President of India can declare the state emergency for the failure of the constitutional machinery. And finally, under Article 360, the financial emergency for the disturbance of financial economic matters. Under those circumstances, President of India is having the power to declare the financial emergency. For that reasons, we adopted from the German constitutions. Then we are having the directive principles of state policy. So in the directive principles of state policy, say the measures we will take from the government for what is the welfare measures have to taken for the people. That is the government have to take or initiate actions for the welfare of the people. For example, Gandhian principle. So the ban for intoxications, cow slaughter, and for the socialistic principle, like this is also direct principles of state policy, equal pay for equal work, and national principles provide equal importance for international peace. These are all the aspects where the government have to provided or prepare the plan, program for the welfare of the people. Then the another features for our Indian Constitution is amendment procedures. Under Article 368, the Union government is having the power to amend the law. For some provisions can easily be amended, but some provisions like fundamental rights, part third of the Constitution, 2/3 majority by the House of the People is required. Under those circumstances, we will say that it is required for the majority consent. So our amendment procedure is partly rigid and partly flexible. Some bill can be easily passed, but some bills it is not easily passed by the Parliament or by both the houses. 2/3 majority is required, or we will say that even for the election of the President or for the removal of the judges of the Supreme Court, removal of the President, these are all requires difficult. Under those circumstances, we will say that the amendment procedure for the actions taken by the Parliament, it requires some consent by the Parliament. In that aspect, we will say that it is rigid. Then, so we are having in India, we are having single citizenship, not like that Switzerland, not like that America. So Indian citizens guaranteed single citizenship, and we are having the single election commission. These features refers to the unitary in nature. So our Indian Constitution is unitary in nature, means we are having single citizenship, single IAS examinations. A federal in the sense there are two sets of the governments, union government and the state government, that is federal in nature. So we will, some authors are saying that our Indian constitutions is quasi-federal or federal. So some features are federal in nature and some features are unitary in nature. So ultimately we are having local self-government for decentralization of the powers, where all the people are involving. For example, with regard to the Taluk Panchayat, Jilla Panchayat, and for the village level we are having the village panchayat, and taluk level we are having the taluk panchayat, and the district level we are having the Jilla Panchayat, that is under 73rd Constitutional Amendment status given, and 74th Constitution's Amendment, and the corporation selection, municipal corporation, town municipality and city municipality. It is the varies according to the populations. In between 20,000 to 50,000, in between it is a town municipality. If it is above 50,000 and below 5 lakhs, it is city municipalities. If it is above 5 lakhs, it is corporations. So it is the gross local self government. It is giving reservation even for the women for the 1/3 of the seats, and for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, as for SSC 15%, for the even for the presidential post for the panchayat is also concerned. So these are all the main features of our Indian constitutions, and some authors are saying that the entire horoscope of the Indians, it is within the constitutions, because all the rights and duties of the citizens and for the progress of the city, progress of the nations, especially for the upliftment of the people, and special provision for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, all these aspects. Or for the judicial review, we have adopted the American constitutions for the judicial review, and at the apex, it is the authors are saying that it is the guardian of the Supreme Court is our guardian of our constitutions, because the act of the legislature, act of the judiciary, act of the legislature, act of the executive will be questioned in the Supreme Court, and ultimately Supreme Court will have the right to declare. So in that way, for the judicial review, we adopted the American constitutions. These are all the various features of the Indian constitutions. I made myself clear. If there is any doubt arises for you, please you may able to ask with me questions.